Hey Jax, are you ready for the next video in the PowerApps and Flow video series by FlowJoe? He looks ready, are you? Well, today we are actually going to be creating our first PowerApp, and then what we're going to do is create the landing section. Now, what do I mean by the landing section? The landing section is the first section that the user is actually going to see. We're going to create a button that moves us on to the next section, and we'll go from there. So let's go! Right, so we are now ready to create our PowerApp. How do we begin then? So if we venture to powerapps.com, we will land on this website. If you haven't signed up already, you can hit the sign up for free button and fill in the form and get signed up. If you have signed up, like I have already, you can hit sign in. And if you've signed into Flow or any other website before with the Microsoft stack, you will automatically get signed in. And as you can see, I'm on my FlowJoe environment up here. So you land on this Build a Business Apps Fast first landing page. You can hit Create a Canvas app or a model driven app. Obviously we're focusing on Canvas apps at the moment, so let's hit that. Then you get given a Canvas app from blank name section. So I'm going to put in PowerApps and Flow NHL demo, because that's just going to be the name of my application for this series. And I'm going to hit phone. Let me just correct that section. And if I scroll down here and click create, it's going to start getting things ready, getting everything into place so that we can get to the PowerApp Studio. You get the spinner come up while we are waiting. And then you get a welcome to the PowerApp Studio, so you can actually see some guides on creating forms, creating a gallery, etc. So if we just click skip, we are now on the PowerApps Studio website, and we can begin creating our application. Now let's just have a quick rundown of our window that we see in front of us. We have the actual canvas here that we can build upon. We have a tree view here which we'll be able to create different screens in, sections, etc. We also have a section here that is all of the properties of the specific thing that we've selected. The properties also show on the right hand side over here, and then you have an advanced section where you can fill image patterns, etc. that we'll be going into at a later time. So that is the overall view of what we have in front of us. We also have the insert tab where we can insert media, we can insert text, buttons, etc. You can then view your media that you've uploaded, the collections, variables that you may use, and then actions are we can trigger flows and remove stuff, etc. So that's the view that we have in front of us now. Let's move on to actually getting something onto our application. Right, so what we want to do firstly is add some media to our Canvas app, because the way this application is going to be working is the user is going to land on this page. It's going to have some logos going across the page in the background. It's going to have the NHL logo sat above a grey screen, and then there's going to be text at the bottom which will say Team Selector, and then press to continue to indicate that the whole screen is a button. And we need to be able to actually put that information and those images now onto our application. So how do we actually do this? If we click on the View tab and then we click on Media, we then land on the Media section, and you can see there's images, videos, audio, anything that you want to add to your application you can do here. So we're already on images. If we click Browse, I already have a folder here with my grey overlay, as I said. I've got the NHL logo button, so you can see it's got the logo, it says Team Selector, press to continue. And then I've got team logos basically duplicated over twice, so what's going to happen is they're going to move. When one gets to the end, it will effectively seem to rotate, but we'll talk about that more in a moment. So firstly, let's add all of those logos to our application. Now you can see we have our grey overlay, our NHL logo button, and our NHL Teams logo. So if we hit back now, we're back on here. and we can start adding media. So let's have a look at how we actually get that media from being stored on our application to be visible to the user. Okay, so we have our media on here. Let's get it onto our screen. So we have this screen here. Let's change that to landing screen. We now have the landing screen. This is going to be the screen that we first enter onto and the user will actually first see. We want to then add media. How do we do that? We've obviously seen that we view our media here. So if we go to insert, click media, you have a variety of different things, but let's focus on the image at the moment. So if we add image and we want to say this is the NHL teams, as you can see here, we have a logo that Microsoft has provided as the default sample image logo. This image is stored somewhere on Microsoft's PowerApp section, and it's referencing sample image. Now what that means is it says image equals sample image. So that sample image is stored somewhere, and the image that we have here on our PowerApps is effectively pointing to that image to then display it to the user. So we know that we have our NHL stuff loaded up because we just put it onto there, and we want to select the NHL's teams logos. So you can see the image here has been displayed. I'm not going to go into it now, but I know for a fact that my image is 1816 in width, so let's just extend that and press play. You can see the logos get displayed, but some get cut off because it's actually been stretched out of view, which we'll talk about in a later video. So now we've got our one image. Now we want the grey image to sit over the top, so let's click on image again, and let's just extend that. And again, we've got our sample image, but if we just put into grey overlay there, and now we've got the grey overlay sitting over the top. So let's just rename that to overlay. And then what we want to do is we actually want to add another image, and then we'll add that, and we've got the sample image again, and then we want to add the NHL logo button. And now we have the NHL logo button. So if we press play, you can see we've actually created our screen with 3 simple images already. Let's move on to the button section. Right, so we have our 3 images on our landing screen. We need to now create a new screen. So up here in the top left, you see new screen. We know that we want the next screen to be scrollable. So let's click on that because we want the team names, as we discussed in our high-level workflow, to be able to be scrollable and selectable. So let's change it to that. And then let's rename that to Team Selector Screen. So that's our naming convention. We had screen on the end, so we know that they are screens. So what we need to do now is how do we get from actually getting here on our application to pressing it and getting to the team selector screen. What we need to do is add a button. So if we go to insert and add a button, and then we just expand it because we want the whole actual phone to be a button press at this point. So no matter where the person presses, they actually get through to the next section. We want to remove the text because we want the images to actually be the button press. We don't actually want the button to be visible, really. So if we come down here to the color section and select RGBA 000, that's basically transparent, you can see it looks like there's nothing there. It doesn't actually look like a button. But if you scroll down even further, you can see there are other selections that you can make, hover, on press color, etc. So if we go on press color and just delete that, because when we press it we don't actually want it filled, disabled, we want it transparent, and obviously hover, this won't actually be a thing on the phone, but let's just remove that for good practices. Right, so now that's been done, how do we get this button, which is the continue button, to navigate to the next section? So what we need to do is go to on select, and it says false. We need to change that to navigate. So if we just type in navigate, it gives you an option here, and then we can say, okay, we want to navigate to the team selector screen. So if we go team Selector screen and then close that. When we actually start this application now and press, it goes through. So as you can see, what happened there was when I hovered, it went blue. And this is what we were trying to avoid. So if we come back to the properties, you can see these buckets here. If you go into there and press transparent or just remove the color if it requests it, so you can see the color fade hover here. If we remove those and then we do exactly the same thing again, there's no color overlay. So it appears as the images that we've set up beforehand are the button. So when we press that, we now get to the next screen. Well, there you have it, guys. We have actually created our landing screen. We've created another screen which is going to be scrollable, and we've created our visualizations for the users. We've then navigated to the next screen by creating a button, which is basically an overlay button that's technically invisible, but it's there. It's a full screen trigger. And now we can actually move on to creating the content for our team selector section. And that will be in the next video. So if you liked it, let me know. If you need to contact me about anything Flow or PowerApps related, just contact me on Twitter or leave a comment on here, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.